Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us live today. And we have another special show. Today we have Q&A with the doctors of Love Life Telehealth. And we are super excited to get your questions answered so that people can get the information they need to live healthfully. A quick disclaimer before we get started. I do want to say that the questions that are being answered today should not be considered medical advice, and the doctors will be very careful not to provide medical advice in this kind of form. It's just inappropriate. If you need specific questions about a condition that you're working on, you're always welcome to schedule an appointment at Love Life Telehealth. So before we get started, maybe you can just have everyone introduce themselves. I'll start. I'm Anthony. I'm playing host today, and I am the co-founder of Love Life Telehealth.
Hi, I'm Kim Scheuer. I am a physician working in Colorado and have about 25 licenses around the country, so I can see people around. I'm family practice and lifestyle boarded.
I'm Dr. O'Connor. I'm located in Ohio. I'm licensed in 17 states, I think, and I have family medicine, lifestyle medicine, and obesity medicine board certifications.
Hi, my name is Jeff Pierce. I'm a family doctor and a lifestyle medicine doctor, and I see patients in California, Texas, and Florida, and I'm based out in Northern California. Happy to be here answering questions with y'all today.
Awesome. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And I just want to ask the audience, if you are watching now, will you please just drop a comment in to let us know where you're watching from? It's always interesting to know where people are tuning in from. And it's helpful for us just to have an idea where in the country people are. Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. I feel like this is a special show because I get to hear you all talk about cases and technologies and the latest science and patient care all the time. So I'm really excited to share that publicly with our community. I know we have some questions that were written in ahead of time, and we can certainly use those to help us get started. And yeah, we will see. I know that, let me see, comments are coming in. Okay, we don't know where anyone's watching from yet, but I'm sure those will be rolling in as well. But in the meantime, the first question that people are asking, and this is a super general one, what is lifestyle medicine? Who would like to take that, or maybe everyone can share your thoughts on what is lifestyle medicine?
I'll start, and would love to. We'll make these, I think, group efforts in general. But so lifestyle medicine is a very new field of medicine where we are using principles, though, that based on research that have gone back several decades. And it's a focus on our daily decisions, our daily habits. What do we eat? What do we not eat? How do we move? When do we move? Are we getting good sleep? Are we handling chronic stress? Do we have good, loving social connections? And what sort of toxins are we exposed to day in and day out? And when you look at those areas, it actually comes down to 6 areas. When you really focus on those and sort of make all 6 of those areas part of your personal health journey, it turns out there's a ton of research that shows that many of the chronic illnesses that are plaguing Americans and actually folks around the entire world nowadays can be prevented, can be treated, and sometimes even put into remission, even reversed. So lifestyle medicine is an area where docs can get extra training, can become boarded, and really gives us a whole bunch of tools in the tool belt beyond prescribing a pill or a procedure. But since all of us are trained in both lifestyle medicine and other fields like family medicine, it's kind of the best of both worlds because we can use the best that modern medicine has to provide in acute care, but then also with this focus on daily lifestyle habits.
Awesome.
And it's estimated about 75% of chronic conditions that we all deal with are lifestyle related. So really working on those, really taking a look and kind of story of what are we doing and what are we not doing, right? And where can we make tweaks and changes? And it's kind of like, in your kitchen, we kind of get used to what's in our kitchen and our cupboards all the time, and we become very habitual of what we're buying. But maybe we need to shake things up and do a pantry purge, right? And peel apart the layers and, take everything out of the shelves. And, does this fit in the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine? Does it fit with the nutrition, with my goals, or does it not, right? And sort of make a clean break of it.
One of the important things that's to know when you have a lifestyle medicine doctor is if you actually incorporate some of the 6 pillars, or better, all of the 6 pillars, you have to be careful if you're on regular medications, especially for blood pressure and diabetes, because lifestyle changes can reverse diseases so quickly that you may end up on too much medicine and get side effects from that. So it's really important to have a lifestyle medicine doctor help you de-prescribe medicines if you are on some. So this is one thing that all of us at Love Life Telehealth are very skilled at. And what's nice at Love Life Telehealth also is we all live the lifestyle we prescribe for our patients. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. What a testament to the power of these changes. I mean, it's amazing. We've all seen it, where you're working with somebody who for years and years has been making little medication changes up in the dose. And for example, might be on 20, 40, 60 units of insulin. And within a week or two, might be completely off of all of that insulin, and sometimes even sooner than that. And if you're not working closely with a doc, of course, you could bottom out, get dangerously low blood sugar, and that would be, something, of course, that we're trying to avoid. But it just shows how, with making some better choices, that our body is able to heal so quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And being consistent with those changes too, day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. For sure, very important.
Yeah, it's something that, Jeff, that you started, and then Dr. O'Connor that you mentioned as well. It's, it sounds so logical having heard this over and over and over, because if the unhealthy lifestyle leads to these conditions, then it seems, like it should be common knowledge that an incredibly, a super healthy lifestyle can undo some of that stuff, right? Are these conversations that you have, what do you all say to someone who is skeptical that lifestyle changes are going to be able to replace a pill or medical or conventional medical procedure?
Yeah, I start with some examples of the body wants to heal itself. It's really working hard to be as healthy as it can be. So for example, if you are hitting your hand with a hammer and continue hitting it, a doctor can give you some Tylenol or ibuprofen to help reduce the pain, but it doesn't stop the damage. It doesn't go to the root cause. So if you take away that hammer, your body will heal. And that's the same thing we do with certain lifestyle things. Like if you eat something that hurts yourself 3 or 4 times a day, if you take that away, your body will start to heal itself. So it's an amazing thing. I think all of us have used lifestyle changes on our own selves and helped our own health, and then used it with our patients. And it's just, it's wonderful to see the changes we can have in our patients so that they feel better, are healthier, pay less for medications and medical issues, and eat and live with full vitality. And it's great.
Yeah, there's a lot out there too about, being mindful and doing this and taking that supplement and this supplement. And really, it's just strip it back to the basics. What am I currently doing and where do I want to go, and being consistent with that. Mm-hmm. And we are a society of instant gratification. There's a pill, potion, and powder. We would like to think for everything, and there's not. It's good old fashioned, roll up your sleeves, elbow grease, hard work. And it's the daily decisions that every day that you do that are going to add up, that the sum total is going to have the desired effect. And the more aggressively you can apply some changes, especially with dietary, the sooner you might see results. But sometimes it takes a long time. It takes a long time for that gut microbiome to sort of like catch up and be like, oh, now we're with the program. So if you don't see a result in 3 days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 3 months, just hang on. Our bodies are like exquisitely designed, and the chemical reactions that go on inside to balance, our sodium, our potassium, and everything is just fascinating. We just need to get out of our body's way and let it heal and do its thing. But it takes time, and just really paring back like a lot of the external influences and distractions, and really figuring out where are you right now and where do you want to go. And that's really where we can help too.
Yeah, I agree, Keary. There are a lot of distractions, and to Anthony's point about skepticism, how do you know that what the four of us are talking about today actually works when you switch to another social media channel and someone's telling you that, it's really all about the supplement and that's going to fix everything, or it's really about making sure you're, eating nothing but, something else all day long. And so, yeah, watching some movies will take you so far, like Forks Over Knives, The Game Changers. Some of these things are great. Having a friend or a family member gone through it, and you haven't seen them for a couple months, and you see them again. They've lost weight. They have a glow to their persona. They're feeling so much better. Those things can sort of help move you along the line. But then some of it's just taking that leap of faith and saying, committing. Okay, I'm going to commit to the next month of going all in. And while you may or may not see X reversing, but you'll see other things getting better in the meantime, so you'll have little encouragements along the way. So yeah, I think it's a combination of things to bust the skepticism. Just got to try it. I mean, if I was talking to myself when I was a college kid about these things, I'd say, oh no, but I feel great doing what I'm doing, or I'm feeling fine on this medicine or whatever. And so you got to be in the right place for it to hear it. But I think folks who are tuning in are inquisitive, are ready to try more and more what we're talking about today.
And I think too, it's an excellent point. And one of the things that I would like to add is that sometimes we do start patients on medications. And while we love deprescribing, sometimes patients come to us and they're at a critical point where, our job is to provide evidence-based medicine. So there are times we might have to start insulin or start a statin or, start a blood pressure medication. And, hopefully the goal is not to be on it forever, but we look at a multitude of factors that we take into that, equation and those calculations that we're doing in shared decision-making with the patient. So, there is a lot of evidence and a lot of thought and education that goes into what we do with each patient.
Fantastic. Thank you. I want to make sure that we get through some of these questions. I think that was wonderful to set the stage. Now maybe we have some that are a little quick. This one is the opposite of a question that I'm sure that you all hear all the time, and that is, can I eat too much protein?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So in America, we're obsessed with protein deficiency when we're actually more fiber deficient as a culture. So we get plenty of protein as a culture. And so if you eat a healthy diet that is balanced, you probably won't get too much protein. I get plenty of protein without any kind of supplements, just eating my regular healthy diet. But you certainly can get too much animal protein, which can it can cause all kinds of problems, including stress your liver, your kidneys, it's associated with cancers, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, you can eat too much protein. There are different ideas about how much is too much. But if you just eat a healthy diet, which is full of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, you're going to be okay and not have to worry about that. But I'll push this off to some other people too.
I think one of the things you have to ask yourself is, how much protein are you getting right now? And it's one of the first questions I ask patients, because again, you can get sucked into a lot of supplements and bars and powders and potions, none of which are regulated, by the way, in terms of, the contents. How much are you getting, right? And who are you comparing yourself to? Where do you want to go? And I find it one of my favorite people in the discussion of protein is Christopher Gardner out of Stanford. And he has some really great protein videos on YouTube, and he's quite funny, actually. So they're quite entertaining. But if you think about a lot of people who want to eat like paleo or keto or low carb, when you're consuming that much protein, that amino group, which is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, through digestion, when that nitrogen falls off, you're left with a carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which is a carbohydrate. So you actually end up storing more carbohydrates and more fat when you eat excess protein. So it's pretty fascinating discussion he has on YouTube. It's very funny. And it kind of opened my eyes to this a couple of years ago when I watched it and heard it. And I've been following him since, and he's very, very good. So, if you're getting the 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, you're doing just fine. If you're an Iron Woman or Iron Man triathlete and you're up at 1 or 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and it's ideal body weight, not your current body weight, you're doing fine. We do not have a protein deficiency in this country. We have, like Dr. Scheuer said, a fiber deficiency in this country.
Yeah, I echo all that. I think it's that I don't calculate my own protein grams every day, and in general I don't recommend my patients to, but it's a good exercise to do if you're doubting, if you're worried, do I need this protein powder? The answer is probably no, especially when you see these high-powered athletes, even definitely including plant-based athletes who are not taking protein powder, and it's that 0.8 grams per kilogram of healthy body weight. So if you're 50 or 100 pounds overweight, make sure you do the calculation, ask your doc, what's my ideal body weight based on my height? And then you'll see. I mean, Kim just said she was getting plenty, if not more than the 0.8 to 1 grams per kilogram of her body weight based off of eating nothing but plants. And I think the downsides, some of the downsides of getting all the protein that we get typically from animal products in the American diet is part of the packaging that it comes in, right? So we're taught in social media that, I got to get my protein, and you look at that steak as your protein, but of course it's not mostly protein, right? It's mostly fat, and so it comes in a very bad package, and that's apart from the fact that there's concerns about the animal protein itself, what it does to IGF-1, which is a growth factor, that when we're older, we don't want more growth factors. We've done all the growing that we need to do for the most part. What we don't want is that growth factor to fuel cancer. And so all sorts of reasons not to worry about your protein. Everyone should be asking, all the waiters and waitresses should be saying, and what fiber would you like today? Not what protein should I add to your meal, because we're way fiber deficient.
Yeah, that's excellent, Jeff. The one thing that you triggered in my head that I wanted to say too is science. The best that science knows that our bodies can digest at a time about 29, 30 grams of protein. We can't go over that. And I was talking to a friend in another country last night and was concerned about one of their family members. And we looked at a photograph of the back of the nutrition label, and 100-gram serving was 47 grams of protein. Way too much. So figure it out. Use Chronometer or MyFitnessPal or some app and figure out per meal like how much you're getting currently. And chances are you're probably getting too much.
Thank you. Let's move on to another question. This one came through Facebook, and it says, what's a lifestyle medicine approach to chronic pain?
Everything. You want to hit every aspect of the 6 pillars. For example, for eating, you want to be on an anti-inflammatory diet, because the inflammation is so associated with pain. So if we want you on the least inflammatory diet as possible. We want you sleeping well, because that helps you deal with pain. We want you dealing with moving. Even though sometimes moving hurts, you want to make sure you are moving safely and well, but moving every day is very important to help with pain. having social connection, having a purpose, having meaning in your life can help. There's psychological things you can do. You can, to help with the pain. Having fun can help with the pain. So it's really important to hit every aspect of lifestyle to make sure that you have the least pain possible, but if you have the pain, can deal with it.
And sometimes not moving causes more pain. So there may be that fear of movement. You got to move. Like motion is lotion. So you gotta move.
I think pain is incredibly complex, and what we have done wrong in the pharmaceutical-based medical model is that, somebody has chronic pain, let's come up with a medicine that helps with what the drug can do at some cellular level. Well, we've learned, of course, all the downsides of using opiates for chronic pain, from the overdoses and the addictions, and part of the reason why when I was doing more routine family medicine, and I would see folks come in for their monthly refill of 100 pills of this and 100 pills of something else, and they were still in pain, maybe about the same amount of pain that they were before they were on it, or maybe a little bit less, is that it's only treating one little aspect of pain, and pain is so complex. All those things that Kim was just mentioning, and Keary, about it's movement, it's your mood, it's getting outside in nature, it's doing all of these things that will come to this problem from so many different angles, that there'll never be a pill that just fixes it. There'll never be a shot. There'll never be. It's got to be multidisciplinary, that approach.
Excellent, thank you. There's another question that came in, and it says, "What do you suggest for resistant hypertension?" We love that one.
So that's an interesting one. First of all, going back to the nitty-gritty of, are you getting hidden salts, hidden saturated fats in your food? Those are things we can look at. Are you moving and exercising? What's your stress? The medicines, if you are taking medicines, how are you taking them? When are you taking them? Making sure you don't have something else going on, like a kidney issue that's causing the resistant hypertension, like pheochromocytoma. There's lots of different things that we should look for to make sure we don't have any issues. Again, we are lifestyle medicine, but we are also traditionally trained. And so we could adjust your medications to help you get on the best ones for you, but make sure you're not doing something that unintentionally that is increasing your blood pressure, and keeping that stress and working on stress reduction and techniques to get you into more parasympathetic and take down your hypertension. Those are my original ones.
Yeah. I second all that. There's primary hypertension, which is or essential hypertension, or basically our daily habit associated hypertension. And that's what most adults in America have, is hypertension due to a combination of excess salt in the diet, carrying excess weight, not having enough exercise, maybe too much dietary fats affecting blood flow, et cetera. And all this stuff put together leads to hypertension based on what we do day in, day out. And then there's the secondary hypertension that your doc should rule out, right? Is it because you're on a medicine that's causing it, like sometimes oral contraceptives, some antidepressants, et cetera? Is it because you have some other more rare secondary cause, your kidneys, like the pheochromocytoma, or some of these other rare birds that are out there? So sure, make sure you don't have that. But the vast majority of the time, it's what we are doing and not doing. And my approach with my patients in general is, okay, first of all, get on a whole food plant-based diet, which is naturally low in sodium and naturally high in potassium. And so potassium helps with lowering blood pressure, its effect on the blood vessels, keeping the sodium salts low helps, of course, as well. It's going to help you drop weight at a certain weight. For every couple of pounds you lose a 1 point of systolic blood pressure. Make sure that you're not smoking cigarettes. Watch your alcohol intake, because alcohol can also lead to high blood pressure. So focusing on this sort of lifestyle medicine approach to blood pressure is going to help in so many ways. And then there's some things that you can add back in, right? So there are studies looking at ground flaxseed helps to lower blood pressure, as well as medications, but with beneficial side effects, right? Because ground flax with the omega-3s helps with cholesterol, helps with weight, helps with blood pressure, etc. Hibiscus tea is another good one that in a study worked as well as one of those ACE inhibitor type medications that your doc might have put you on in the past. And so if you like tea and you don't want to take a blood pressure pill, that's another way to help with that process. But yeah, so I think it's make sure you've got essential hypertension, and which most of us do as our cause of diet associated and habit associated blood pressure, and then look at the overall lifestyle medicine approach.
I agree with all of that, what Jeff and Kim both said, and just really emphasizing potassium-rich foods. That's really important. But again, stripping it back to the basics, like before adding more things, like what am I currently doing? Like what can I purge? What can I add? What can I, and rather than pulling a bunch of supplements off the shelves, like what can we do with a whole food plant-based, and like really stripping it back to the basics, simplifying it. And then
sorry. I was going to say, you had mentioned medicines, Jeff, but supplements. What supplements are they on that they're taking that is possibly making it resistant? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a good point, because supplements, I've seen it in patients causing liver and kidney damage, right? So it's really, really important to know what you're putting in your mouth. And then stress, right? Stress kills. Stress kills. I can't stress that enough, right? So lowering your stress level, because you're going to create a lot of resistance in those vessels and a lot of stiffness. Your heart could potentially remodel itself, become bigger, it becomes weaker over time. Like you need to really keep those blood vessels compliant, keep the heart compliant, so that it can pump and it's not pumping against all that resistance, trying to get the blood out of the heart to the rest of the body. So lowering your stress cannot be emphasized enough. It's really, really important.
One of the things about high blood pressure that opened my eyes when I was first learning about a more holistic approach to blood pressure control is that when you look at populations that have not been exposed to basically modern Western lifestyle and influenced living, basically those folks, you don't see this natural progression that as you get older, everybody gets high blood pressure. That's kind of what I thought. I was like, oh, look at all these old folks in family, friends, patients. You just get older and you get high blood pressure, and that's normal. But it's not, right? When you find groups, deep in the Amazon that aren't eating what we're eating, that are still moving all the time and things like that, it's not natural to get high blood pressure. And so that really opened my eyes when I was learning about this.
And the other thing too is it's asymptomatic. So if you go, to the doctor and you're like, oh, it's always 140/90, I'm fine. Not great, right? So goal is 120/80 or less. And, again, there's not a lot of symptoms. And sometimes the only symptom you have is when it's too late. So our job is to try and prevent you from getting there. So.
Thank you. Since you mentioned supplements, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. We have a question from Chloe saying that her omega-3s were very low. She started eating more chia and walnuts consistently every day. But what else would you recommend for someone who has low omega-3s?
I'll start with this one because it's something that challenges me as well, because I feel like it's an important question and that we just don't have a solid answer for yet. And if you want to hear a really nice overview of it that was just put out, the podcast called Your Brain On by the Scherzais, Dean and Aisha Scherzai, who are neurologists and very evidence-based, very smart folks, and plant-based. They interviewed some of the world's experts in omegas and omega-3s, omega-6s, et cetera, to try to get an answer for it. And actually, one of the people they were interviewing was the person who designed the Omega Check lab test to get his opinion on things. And come to your own conclusions and see if they agree with what the Scheuer came up with. But my takeaway is there's still a lot to know about whether or not we should be getting this level that the lab test gives for us. I think the science is not quite there yet. Some folks would say, what's the harm of taking a little bit of extra omega-3, especially the long chain, which is that DHA and EPA, which you can get it if you eat fish, but of course the fish get it from algae. And so as someone who wants to avoid eating fish and the downsides of the heavy metals like mercury and the plastics and the forever chemicals, et cetera, that you find in fish, maybe it's just a couple extra bucks to take an algae-based supplement. And some people will say, yeah, until we know more, it's probably safer to take it, and I can afford it, and we'll see what the science shows us 5 years from now. Because I think they're doing some studies that are looking at, I think, working with the population, the Adventist population in Southern California, trying to figure out this is a lower level, which you naturally see in vegans. Is it just fine? And that the long-term outcomes are still going to be the same or better for a vegan because of all the other benefits, and that you don't actually need this level that you see in the Omega Check. And so anyway, my take on it is that we need more information. I personally have a thing of ground flax and chia that I put on my oatmeal in the morning and use when I bake stuff. But I, at this point, at least, I'm not taking the EPA DHA, but I bet you will get mixed opinions and mixed results on that amongst the group of docs on our team.
Thanks.
I agree with you, Jeff. And not everyone is a great converter of the alpha linolenic acid that's in like the flax, the chia, and the walnuts. And I think walnuts is highest in that. So a little supplementation, but I agree with you. I read one of the original books on omega-3 research, Queen of Fats. It's a small book, but it's really interesting. Has, I think, the level at like 4 or 4.4%, but the Omega Check Lab is at like 5.4%. So I do agree with you that like there's still more data to come on that.
Yeah, I think this is such a controversial topic, and it's so confusing. And I agree, Jeff, we do not have the answers yet. We're not even sure if we're testing the right stuff. I personally love to go whole food plant-based. So I agree I also have chia, flax, and some hemp seeds that I'll grind up and have every day. And some walnuts are great. So that's a great choice. What you want to make sure is you're not getting too much omega-6, which will mess up the ratio. So you want to avoid, even if it's plant-based, you want to avoid processed foods, and you want to avoid animal products as much as you can to make sure your omega-6 isn't so high, and then just just eat as healthy as you can to keep the omega-3s up. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple of things on that too. If you are taking an omega-3, you don't need a 369. Take the omega-3. I wouldn't, if you're doing the fish oil, don't go over 1,000 milligrams because it's been associated with increased incidences of atrial fibrillation. And if you are doing any kind of oil, whether it's algae or fish-based, make sure it's in an encapsulated form and it's third-party certified. Make sure it's not in a liquid form, because every time you open that bottle, the oil is very unstable. It oxidizes. So by the time you get several doses into that bottle, the rest of the bottle is not any good because it's all been oxidized. So.
And if you have issues with the capsules, you can just bite into the capsule. So you get the oil from inside the capsule and throw out the capsule.
Or mix it in your oatmeal or, whatever. Yeah. So.
It's a great question. So,
I'd say both at the same time.
Absolutely. So the question is, should I focus on changing eating or exercise habits first as you're starting a health journey? And I agree. I think little changes are really important in everything. The more you can do, the more improvements you will see. So I went all in at one point, which is really helpful for me. Some people need to go slower, and we can help you with that too, but do what you can and focus on both. And so in terms of eating and exercise, if you are somebody who doesn't know whether to go to one versus the other, add an apple a day. Keep us doctors away. Add some exercise snacks. So, for example, when I brush my teeth, I now do a push-up. And I started doing push-up. Now I do 20 push-ups every time I brush my teeth. So add a little bit each time to get yourself started.
And add structured, emphasis on the word structured resistance training twice a week, especially if you're female, regardless of your age, to help preserve and protect your bone health and try and stave off osteopenia and osteoporosis. And structured is key. It's really key. Like, make sure you're doing, whether it's with a trainer or a group, but you are working to increase your weights, that you're doing it smartly, you're doing repetitions. You can look at the Lift More study, which I think was done in Australia. It's really interesting. But it really needs to be structured and very dedicated. So at least twice a week.
Do it with friends. That way you get
what I do
together and you're working.
Yeah, I will admit I'm a codependent exerciser, so I do it with a group. Yes.
That's awesome. I would add, so if we're going to say, I just have enough capacity and energy to do one of those two things, I think try one or the other and see what works. I think for a lot of people, starting with diet first is, if we're going to make this kind of maybe not a real life and say we have to choose one or the other, I would start with diet, because especially for folks who are working to get down to a lower weight, diet it helps with weight loss, while exercise mostly does not contribute to weight loss, but helps with weight loss maintenance and things like that. And as folks come down in weight, then things are easier on their joints, and their and a walk or a jog or whatever form of exercise tends to be a little bit easier on the body. So I think if I had to choose one, I would probably start with the diet. And Anthony, do you mind one thing I learned from you was learning about your personal story about what you chose and when you entered those things. Could you mention something about that?
Yeah, and thank you, Jeff. And when I started, I did the same. I did what you described. I had to focus on one thing first. I was not eating a healthy diet, and I was not exercising at all, right? So then as I went on to become a coach, I would recommend that people choose some dietary changes first. And the biggest reason for me was from a kind of behavior point of view. A lot of people who don't exercise and then they start exercising, they feel hungry. And if you feel hungry and you don't have food habits in place, then you might be reaching for your old go-tos, which are actually unhealthy. The other thing that I see with people who start new exercises routines, people who have been otherwise almost sedentary, is sometimes they feel a sense of entitlement after exercising. Like, oh, I went for a walk this morning. Oh, it's just one cookie. I already went for a walk this morning. I can have my cookie. But if you make your dietary changes first and you've got, and then your go-to snacks are an apple or some carrots or something, and then you say, oh, I went for my walk today. That must be why I'm feeling extra hungry right now. And you grab an extra apple, or you grab a banana, or if you grab some extra carrots, for a snack, it's not so much of a, it doesn't work against, or it doesn't work in conflict. And, and I'm sure you had these conversations with individuals during your important appointments, but generally speaking, that's something that I found. And but again, one of the magical things of you working directly with a patient is that you get to decide with that patient and help them to choose what's best for them individually.
And when you first started to make big changes in your diet, you started seeing the weight peel off, and I remember reading in one of your descriptions of your journey that you had lost how many pounds before you started to exercise?
Almost
Before
100.
Almost 100 pounds you lost before you started to make regular exercise a
Yeah,
part of your life.
that's right.
I think it's super powerful.
And then I started exercising a lot. And then, but then at that point, when I was starving and hungry, I was doing exactly what I said. I literally pulled into the Trader Joe's parking lot on the way home and bought a bag of baby carrots, and I would eat them while I drove. And
Right.
you know, people would say to me, "You ate a whole bag of baby carrots," and you flip it over, and the whole thing is like 140 calories. You know, in a whole 1 pound bag. You know, but otherwise, before I started changing my lifestyle at all, I would walk past the vending machine if I was hungry on my way home. And it's so easy to pick up a package of peanut M&Ms. That was probably my go-to, right? And if I would have just been hungry and not had peanut M&Ms out of my life and carrots in place, then it might have been a deterrent for me. You know, I'm also kind of an all or nothing type person, so I know that about myself individually. So that helps me to make my choices.
And Physicians Committee reinforces that. They actually did a study with diabetics and, you know, whole food plant-based versus the standard American diet. And without exercising, they actually lost weight. So, you know, to your point, Dr. Pierce, as well, too, you know, the exercise really isn't for weight loss, but it's really for cardiorespiratory health, cardiometabolic health. It's really, really important. We need that.
Yeah. You guys use that phrase, lose weight in the kitchen and get fit in the gym. Which I like a lot, because I definitely thought before I got into the field that, oh, I just needed to exercise more, and that's what I told my patients to do. Oh, you're working on losing weight? Well, how about if you start jogging? It's really get fit out, you know, doing your exercise. But if you're focusing on weight loss, then it's what we decide to do. And another phrase, which is almost a little pejorative, but like you can never outrun your mouth, which is kind of funny play on words, but it's really hard to exercise. I think the only people who exercise and lose weight because of it are folks like Navy SEAL training and, you know, Olympic athletes in training and stuff like that. And most of us don't have 6 to 8 hours a day to spend exercising, you know.
All right, thanks everyone. We have another question that came in. This one's a little bit more specific, so I don't know that you'll be able to specifically tell Rochelle exactly what to do next. I would guess you can't, but I am wondering if you have any general thoughts that you would like to share in this example.
Can I start with this one? So there's a lot of factors that go into that. And generally speaking, the guidelines for people that are like subclinical hypothyroidism, a TSH between 5 and 10, you don't necessarily start medications, but you want to look at your, you know, like where you might fall on the spectrum in terms of weight. Obesity can mimic hypothyroidism. You know, are you eating exclusively, you know, foods that contain salt that have no iodine in there? Like, are you getting, you know, enough iodine to support your thyroid? Are there medications or things that you're doing that are adversely affecting it? Have you had like antibodies, like thyroid peroxidase antibodies looking for, you know, autoimmune thyroiditis or a thyroid ultrasound? There's a lot of steps that can be taken. It doesn't necessarily mean you need medications. But again, you know, just kind of peel back the layers of that onion and look at it and look what potentially could be affecting it. And it might just be a one-off, right? So get the lab repeated. And the next time you get it, it could be 3.5. So.
Agree wholeheartedly.
Anything else to add?
I have a friend and patient who had new development of hypotension, so the TSH going up, and she and I think it would probably be worth to talk more in detail, maybe with her on another episode. But she was very much salt, oil, sugar free, very healthy eater, and it turns out that she her TSH was climbing, and when she started adding an iodine supplement, it reversed on its own, and it had gotten way high. And so, you know, the other docs on the team were really pushing her to start levothyroxine, and that there's no such thing as iodine deficiency in America. But she just was not eating iodized salt, and it didn't have the regular kelp or some other sort of seaweed in the diet. Though kelp can be a little bit too high in iodine. Anyway, so that is another cause. So many causes, just like Keary says, and Rochelle will need individual direction on this, but many things to think about.
Thank you. I think we did it. I do want to. I'm sorry.
Sorry, there was one question that I saw that talked about trimester pregnancy that I thought that would be good for
Thank you.
our expert.
I can start on this one. So I'm so excited that you're eating a whole food plant-based diet during pregnancy. I have the pleasure and the real thankful opportunity to be working every week with a group of pregnant and postpartum women in a very urban, underserved area in California, where we meet on Zoom and we talk about trying to eat as plant-based as possible. And there's just benefit after benefit for having more fiber in the diet, such as lowering risk for preeclampsia, diabetes, and all these different complications, what we call adverse outcomes in pregnancy, adverse pregnancy outcomes. So it's just so good for you and your baby to be eating plant-based. So kudos for you. Don't let your docs tell you that you're putting your baby at harm for not eating, meat or something like that. Make sure that it's a well-balanced whole food plant-based diet. And I'm assuming that's what you said, but of course, talk with your doc in detail about your diet, because a diet of celery and carrots and nothing else will not meet all of your needs at any time in life, including pregnancy. So make sure that's a well-varied diet that's drawing from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, mushrooms, and legumes, and you'll be getting everything you need. I think there's some evidence when they looked at basically a couple of different things. So DHA, basically omega-3s are very important in pregnancy for the developing nervous system, eyes, etc., brain and eyes of the baby. And it's probably also the stage in life that women are best at converting short chain omega-3s from flaxseed and chia seed to the longer forms that the body incorporates in these things. So I recommend to my pregnant patients that they are consuming a couple tablespoons of ground flax or chia or both every day. If you want to supplement with DHA, that's okay. We don't have a definitive level that you should be shooting for in pregnancy, and we don't both for a lab level or how much DHA, though I think if you're taking DHA, what is it? It's often around 200 or so for the supplement, just in general, Kim and Keary, somewhere around there. But so just make sure you're getting some sort of omega-3s every day. Another thing to avoid for people who are omnivores would be probably too much fish because of the mercury and other things. But as someone eating whole food plant-based, you're fine there. Vitamin D levels have been associated with having low vitamin D levels were associated with bad outcomes. And so most prenatal vitamins have vitamin D. For folks who are coming into pregnancy with a low vitamin D, I recommend that they take extra vitamin D. This time of year, it's very difficult to get enough vitamin D from exposure if you're anywhere far away from the equator, like many of us in North America are. Supplementing with vitamin D can be helpful as well. So those are a couple of other things, but in general, you'll be getting everything that you need from that really healthy diet that you're eating most likely as a whole food plant-based eater.
And some quick resources would be like a book called Nourish by Dr. Reshma Shah and Brenda Davis. Fantastic book about how to make sure you're getting what you need through all of your pregnancy and through raising your child. Plant-Based Toddlers, PCRM, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, has some really good information on pregnancy, and Nutrition Project probably does too. So.
Yeah, those are great recommendations. I love that book, Nourish by Reshma Shah and Brenda Davis. Definitely recommend that to everybody starting a family.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everyone. Any parting thoughts or anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap it up? I realize we're already still well over time from what we had planned, but I personally really enjoyed hearing the conversations and the answers to these questions, and I'm sure the audience did as well. And if there's anything else you'd like to share, and then otherwise, when you're done, we can sign off.
So one thing I'd like to say is we have a group of amazing providers at Love Life Telehealth. And when we have certain people who are experts in every little aspect of health. And so when you come to see one of us who is licensed in your state, if we don't have the answer or need more information, we have such a brain trust that we can hook up with. And so you'll get, like in this conversation, not just one doc, but all of us to help you out.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. I would just say strip it back to the basics. What are you doing right now? Like, where are you currently and where do you want to go? Because again, there can be a lot of distractions and a lot of misinformation. You could go down some interesting rabbit holes. So if you do decide to follow someone, make sure that you find their resources, like what evidence are they using for the claims that they're making. But less is more, and just be consistent.
Yep.
Thank you. Dr. Pierce, any parting words?
Oh, I echo what these smart people said just now, and what a pleasure to be able to spend time with everyone answering questions and just chatting about things. I always learn stuff, and thankful for the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, me too. I learn something every time, and I'm glad that others are able to listen in on the conversation. Well, thank you all for doing this, and thank you everyone who's out there who participated today and shared questions and listened in. And we will look forward to seeing you next time. Please keep an eye out for our newsletter and visit our website. Oh, I did mean to mention, I shared in the comments our physician's guide to treating hypertension naturally, because there was that question about blood pressure. So that's there. And you can visit our website for more resources that can help you get started. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.